Perfect. We are now live. You want to get a little professional now if you want, Matt?
Yeah. Before we got on, man, I thought I turned it on. I thought we were going, and I burnt myself out. Now I got nothing left.
I should have told you something. Sorry about that.
You're
That's
good.
definitely on me.
You're good, man.
Looks like we are live here. So we'll give it a second for everybody to join in, and then we'll go ahead and start answering all of your questions on this Friday happy hour. Let us know what you guys are drinking as well in the comment section.
Please. I'm sipping on my Natter Days like usual. If anybody knows me, they know my love affair with natural light and anything natural light. So I couldn't miss it.
Yeah, and I'm just sipping on my water, or it might taste like a Sculpin, but I'm just gonna call it a water.
There you go, smart man.
See here, let's get Grant asking some questions in here. So we got some people joined. I'll let everyone know. My name is Leo Luna. I write for Sports Illustrated All 49ers, as well as I just started up my YouTube channel with Tapped In Sports. And I'm joined here with the one and only special guest, Matt Barr of the Fourth and Gold podcast, 49ers Web Zone, and is it Pro Football or Football Draft Network?
Pro Football Network, so PFN. So I'm rocking the shirt right now. You can't really see it, but yeah, rocking the Pro Football Network shirt.
I'm going to be strictly honest. I did a lot of mock drafts on that site. Their mock draft system is beautiful.
It's the best. It's the best simulator in the game. It's not even close. Free trades, free everything. You just get a chance to just go nuts with it. The mock drafts I came up with for the 49ers this past offseason were incredible. And of course, none of them came true. So it was a bunch of waste of time, but I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I think my most popular pick in there was probably CD Lamb.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds about right.
Taking him. Right. And then always 100% traded back on that 31st pick.
Oh, always. That's what you had to do. And actually, so PFN's so far ahead of the game right now, their mock draft simulator's already up for 2021. So they already have a simulated draft order based on Super Bowl odds. And so they're already rolling with the 2021 mock draft.
Wow, that's insane. Definitely go ahead and check out PFN, guys. Give them a follow. Give Matt a follow. Give Fourth and Gold Podcast a follow. Just give everybody a follow, and that'll work out. So before we went live here, we were talking about Kittle and how he could reset that market. You want to get into detail? I know you spoke with it on your podcast, but for the people that didn't get a chance to tune in yet onto that.
So the hashtag Pay George Kittle was a big deal across 49ers Twitter. I'm sure you saw it. People retweeting it, people screaming it from the mountaintops. It sounds like a deal is in place. So we've had a couple sources. We cross-referenced them. We came up with the same information from multiple places. There is a deal in place. They just got to put ink to paper. That's probably going to happen on report day for training camp. So that's good news. It sounds like, if I did give it a best guess, we don't have numbers. So we don't have numbers yet. But if I had to give a best guess, I'd say it's probably going to be around $13 million a year, which is a little less than Kittle wanted. But it still resets that tight end market a little bit.
Right.
Hooper was making 10.5, and that was the top of the top. Kelsey only making 9.3, worth way more than that. And the tight end market was broken. The wide receiver market is going nuts. Guys like Quincy and Nunwa are making $9 million a year. And he's a nice player, but is he worth the same as Travis Kelsey? No, he's not.
No.
That's just how the wide receiver market works. So Kittle gets a chance to reset the tight end market a little bit. If it is $13 million, that's, $2.5 million more than the last guy. So that's really good. And then you're going to look at guys like Travis Kelsey coming up on a new contract, Mark Andrews from Baltimore. They're going to need more than Kittle, because that's just how the NFL works. Once one guy gets paid, the next guy's going to get paid more and more and more and more.
Yep.
And the ball just keeps rolling. So the 49ers may have set themselves back a little bit with how much they paid Kittle, but at the same time, they're kind of setting up other teams to match or exceed it, and they're going to eat up their cap room in exchange.
Yeah, and I agree. It's like Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh my God, he had the biggest quarterback record deal, and now you look at that and you're like, wow, Jimmy Garoppolo's a bargain. So that tight end market, business. Yes, that tight end market needs to get reset, because the type of players that have been established through there, even going from Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, like there's a lot of superstars and Hall of Fame players that barely even saw any type of cap hit, which I'm sure the teams love, but in the all reality, they deserve to be paid. Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the last couple of years in the Super Bowl, you look at these teams that have made it. It's like New England, Philly, Kansas City, San Francisco. What do they all have in common? Top tier tight ends. So
Right.
they say top top wide receivers don't win Super Bowls, but apparently top tight ends do. So maybe
Mhm.
that's the new position that is going to force feed into wins.
Yeah, that's very possible, especially in the red zone. It's a huge target to have a tight end. And I see we have a question here from the season never ends. If you had to pay Kittle, what is your ceiling?
16, I think, is about where I would go top. I said 17.5 and get it done on the podcast because I was like, just sign the man. That's how important he
Yeah.
is to the 49ers. I think he's the face of the franchise. I think he's more the face of the franchise than Jimmy is, just because when people think 49ers, they think Kittle, they think his little celebration, they see
Yep.
him being energetic and being mic'd up and all that stuff. I would go 16 is probably the top of the top of what I would. But if they paid him like 17.5, I'd be like, you got to do what you got to do. But I don't think it's going to be that high.
Yeah, same here. I don't see them going to 60. I think the 49ers ceiling would be probably around 14. 14.5 is maybe a little bit of a stretch just based on everything that we're hearing. And my personal ceiling, though, to answer this question would be probably 16.5. I want to say 17, but that's just you're paying a guy 70% above market value. Probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Yep.
I would probably say 16.5, even though that's still just 5% less than that 70%.
Yeah. And I think he's worth every penny. So whatever this deal ends up being, it's going to be a steal for the 49ers just because of what he does for the offense and how he allows Kyle Shanahan to do whatever he wants to do. Because Kyle Shanahan was on Chris Sims' podcast a couple days ago, and he was talking about it.
Right.
And he said that he can have 30 play designs, but he's got 5 eligibles that he can mess around with. And when you have these pieces that can move all over the place and can play multiple positions as eligibles, where George Kittle can play in the backfield, lined up on the line, he can play slot, he can play out wide, he can play anywhere. It just gives him so much versatility for Shanahan to just do whatever he wants to do. And that's how we just see Shanahan just kind of pick these guys apart because, man, he just has positionless offense is what he's really moved towards. And it's nice to see.
Yeah, and you could always talk about, why pay Kittle so much? Go ahead and I hear that commenting is turned off. I got a text. Got me. Let's go, people, or the stream. Go ahead and comment down below. Then, in that tweet of the video, go ahead and just put comments. We'll answer some of the few comments that I saw in here. Damn, that's here we go. It says, "Are you reading this?" Yes, we are. I'll go ahead and answer your comment from earlier right now. Let me go ahead and pull up that tweet. It says, which 49ers do you believe would be most likely to opt out of the season? Players like Coleman will fall into the high-risk opt-out due to category of sickle cell. I believe that is his daughter that has sickle cell. I think Tevin Coleman may be very likely, or he would just have to be. I spoke with Jamar Taylor, who the 49ers signed recently at cornerback. And what he told me is he's just going to be away from his family. So to him, it didn't matter which team he signed with. And I can see a lot of players doing that same similarity. Like, hell, Robbie's Gold lived in a hotel for, 2-3 years with the 49ers now?
Yep.
So a lot of players are probably going to be Robbie Gold's roommates and just stay away from their family and just keep that if they do get sick, which after, say, maybe like 3 weeks, I see nothing but negatives. I hope I'm right on that. But I think they're just going to be separate from their families until we get a better answer on things.
That's probably for the best. And you're looking at just you need to stay away. It sucks. You got to stay away from your family. But it's something you need to do. And especially I see a lot of these younger guys are going to be less likely to opt out than maybe some of the vested veterans. Right. Just because NFL careers average, 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. Some of these young guys, they're looking at the only time they're ever going to get to play NFL football. I don't see many of the young rookies, first, second year guys opting out. Somebody like Coleman, who has made his money and has seen a lot of his career, could, possibly work to sit out a year. I can see that. But I don't see anyone, especially on their rookie contract, sitting anything out because this 49ers team is stacked. And unfortunately, peer pressure is going to be the biggest motivator here. If you sit out a year, can you come back? Is your spot going to be safe? Probably not. So it's going to be tough for anyone to sit the season out.
And what is that going to do with contracts? Like, it's hard to say. Maybe a guy like Jamal Adams knows he's not going anywhere with the Jets as far as the winning record wise. And maybe he'll just decide to sit out a year so that he could burn a contract year on a cheap deal. So what's going to happen with that? Like, there's still those type of questions that got to be answered. But when it comes to the risk of not getting sick, I think that's just going to be strictly they're just going to stay in a hotel and away from their family.
Yeah, it's the smart thing to do is just separate yourself from your family and just focus on football. I know it sucks. I know being away from your family for 6 months, 7 months isn't very much fun. I've done it before, but it's just something, if work calls for it, that's what you got to do. So, no one says they signed up for it. They didn't sign up for it, but they signed up to be NFL football players. And this is what NFL football becomes. That's what you got to do.
Exactly. And I'm on the same page for that. It's I have another one. We were discussing this one before, and it was a comment here. Would the 49ers or should the 49ers sign Jadeveon Clowney if it was a $5 million deal on a 1-year contract?
Yes.
like, do we need to explain that? Whether it's D4 trying to stay healthy or, his snap count, I believe they absolutely need that depth off the edge. Yes.
100%. 100%. And Jadeveon Clowney only had 3 sacks last year. And everyone said, oh, that's nothing. That's nothing. He wants $13 million for 3 sacks. I think sacks is an overrated stat. And it's one of those things where you can look at it, and if a guy's not getting any, that's telling. But if a guy's getting a few, but his pressure rate is high, that's really good. And Clowney made his impact. And the Seattle game in San Francisco last year on Monday Night Football was won by Jadeveon Clowney.
Yes.
No one else. Jadeveon Clowney single-handedly won that game for the Seattle Seahawks. 49ers were looking at 9-0 in the face, and then Jadeveon Clowney said, nope. And that's Absolutely. How he makes his impact in ways that aren't sacks. And a lot of his sack numbers are low because Seattle didn't have much of a pass rush outside of him. So if he's not making the play, there's no one else to flush the quarterback towards him. And so he can blow up a play, and he's going to push it towards someone else. You saw the same thing like DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead, right? Their numbers were low.
Touch on that.
Their numbers were low. The numbers were low, and then the next year they ballooned, and that's because they were able to get home and finally hit, but also people were forcing the quarterback to them. Armstead was the biggest beneficiary of that this year, where Bosa, Ford, Buckner all get pressure on the quarterback. They force the quarterback up, and Armstead's just waiting there with his 19-foot wingspan, just ready to eat the guy up.
And something I was going to say on that is, since we're talking about it's not all about the sack number, is DeForest Buckner. He had a 13% pressure rate out of 100 pass rush snaps. And that being said, you look at who's going to replace him. I broke down all the analytical numbers behind this. The next best would be Javon Kinlaw at almost 8%, but that's on college, which it's SEC, so we should not dismiss it too much. But everybody else, like Solomon Thomas, Julian Taylor, they're not even close to that 13%. And keep in mind, his sack numbers are down because guys like Eric Armstead, Bosa, Ford, they're getting one-on-one matches. So, of course, it's going to take Buckner to get there longer. And if he pushes that quarterback back and pushes the pocket, that's going to allow Bosa and D4 to do what they do best and get the sack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And it's a shame to see Buckner go, but it cost of doing business, right? You knew they weren't going to bring back both Armstead and Buckner. They thought they can get at least somewhat close production out of Armstead for a cheaper price than they were going to have to shell out for Buckner. And that's fine. It's not a player you want to see leave, but that's what you have to do. Once you get a stacked roster, you got to start paying guys. You can't pay everyone. Buckner was a monster last year. And I think his best game all year was in the Super Bowl. He was everywhere in the Super Bowl. Him and Bosa were making life hell for Patrick Mahomes. They made Patrick Mahomes look more uncomfortable than we'd seen him all season long. And that's why they had that lead up until, we don't talk about it. 7 minutes left. We don't talk about that anymore. But he had a great play, and I think Indianapolis got a stud in that trade. And then the 49ers, I think, in turn, they turned around and they got a stud. They got a stud on their own. I think Javon Kinlaw is going to come in and have a fantastic rookie season. I think we're going to see low sack numbers from him. Yep. But again, I think we're going to see a decent pressure rate, and I think we're going to see him learn on the go. And as the season goes along, he's going to get stronger and stronger. And it's just man, you see some of those. I hate workout videos. I hate workout videos because everybody gets so
Yeah.
pumped up in the offseason about workout videos. But when you see Javon Kinlaw's hand motions and how fast he is, it's just he looks like he's going to come in and perform kung fu on the entire league.
Yeah, it's workout videos, I guess, to try to make it into the real world. It's kind of like that 50% off sign you see, and then you go, oh, 50% off. You go and grab like 4 of them, and then next thing you know, it's like buy 3 and you get 150% off. That's
Yeah.
kind of like I see workout videos. It's just it tricks the mind so hard because these are world class athletes, whether if they're just straight special teamers or if they're starters.
Right. Yeah. And I think the one player you can look at that everybody's gotten hyped up over the last couple of years is Solomon Thomas. Everybody sees, oh, he's in the best shape of his life. He's gonna come in, he's gonna destroy. And it just if you don't have it technically, you're not gonna. It doesn't matter how physical you are. If you can't technically do the
Yeah,
moves and you can't perform on the field, and it doesn't. I mean, we can take some of the biggest, strongest guys in the world. The guy that played the Mountain in Game of Thrones, right? That guy's a
yeah,
beast. You put him at left tackle, you think he's going to dominate. But if he doesn't have the technical skills to do it, it doesn't matter how big and strong he is. He's not going to be able to do it. And that's kind of where that's how you see these guys separate themselves from the pack. Is can they put the skills together on the field to match their athleticism?
yeah. And I think that's not trying to stick on Buckner too long, but you're making up great points that makes me think about something. Is where Buckner gets knocked by fans now is like, oh, he's not a beast like Kinlaw or Bosa. He doesn't just push people too far out of the way. Yeah, well, he's technically sound.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at his numbers between getting the pressure, run stops. He's so technically sound that he's playing at an all-pro level. So sometimes it's not about the biggest, strongest guy. Who knows? If Solomon Thomas benches more than him and squats more than him, we all know Solomon Thomas is nowhere near DeForest Buckner as a player. So that's what's touching back on the workout videos. That's what's so hard to evaluate from that.
Yeah, Buckner is a world class athlete in the way that he's so big he shouldn't be able to move like he does, and he's so smooth. And we watch him do the swim move and just break right through a double team, and he chased down Russell Wilson multiple times.
Oh yeah,
No one his size should be able to chase down Russell Wilson. So it's just I know we're still talking about Buckner, but he's a hell of a player, and I wish him the best in Indianapolis.
okay. Well, it looks like we got one question in here. So, like I said, for you guys that are having trouble commenting, like whoever's that the comments are turned off for, go ahead and just tweet us, and then we'll do our best to see that tweet since obviously the comments are not syncing up here. So Solly is a future Belichick stud who leaves after 3 years, netting them a 3rd-round comp pick. Oh my God, how frustrating would that be? Because the 49ers can't even trade him for a 3rd right now.
No, not at all.
They can't even trade him for a 5. That would be so frustrating, and that's such a That's a great point. That's such a Bill Belichick move.
It really is, and that's how the Patriots stayed the Patriots for so many years. Everybody talks about, oh, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. I think Tom Brady's a really, really, really good quarterback. He's a great quarterback. I don't know if he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
But the thing that works is New England has always moved on from guys a year too early rather than a year too late. They don't spend a ton of money in free agency. They draft really well, and they handpick former first round picks that have failed elsewhere, and they turn them into studs. And then, like you said, they turn around, let them leave, get overpaid because they leave the Patriots system, they leave the Patriots way, and then they get that 3rd-round comp pick. And that is just it's devastating to think about.
Like Jamie Collins, what did they sign him to like a veteran minimum, and now they went and this upcoming draft they're going to get a 4th-round comp for him.
Mm-hmm.
Insane. And
he was homegrown. He left to get his money from Cleveland. He ended up in Arizona, I think, for a little bit. He fell off. He goes back to the Patriots, puts back together a good year, and then he gets overpaid to go to Detroit. And then Bill Belichick's just sitting there, with his binoculars and just like, yeah, I got you. Yeah. I got you. I fooled you again.
He calls them up. Hey, if Detroit lets you go, you got a place to come back home.
Come on back, buddy. We got you.
Same with Van Noy. Like, they got him for dirt cheap. I can't remember where he started off at. It wasn't in New England. And then he ends up there. I think he might have been in Tennessee. I can't remember, or I'm thinking about somebody else. But he ends up there and got paid fat. That's another 3rd-round, 4th-round comp pick for New England for someone that costed them, less than $1 million or less than $2 million per season?
Yep. And then, he goes to Miami, and Miami gets to kind of learn the hard way that taking players out of New England isn't always the best move.
Yeah. Okay, so someone listen to me here about the tweets. Is Clowney, if Clowney was signed to the Seahawks, would you take a trade? Trade Kittle for Clowney plus Disley? Hell no.
I'm not. No.
No.
Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the league. I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes is great. Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the league because if you look at the greatest rivalry in sports history, it is Russell Wilson versus the Seahawks because they have tried so hard to not give him what he needs, especially along the offensive line. They spend all this on defense. He has great wide receivers that surround him, good wide receivers. I'm not sure how many he makes great,
Right.
but Russell Wilson is incredible. If you gave him a weapon like George Kittle, game over. They're going to win every single game because George Kittle is going to break his own record every year because Russell Wilson's just going to feed him the ball. Kittle excels when the play breaks down and just knows a way to get open. Russell Wilson is the king of just breaking away. No,
Absolutely.
no. That's the most terrifying thing that I thought about when it comes to this Kittle contract negotiation was, let's say they end up having to tag him at the end of the year, right? They can't get a deal done. They have to tag him. If I was Seattle, I would throw every penny I had at him. Give up your first-round pick because Seattle punts on their first-round pick every year anyway. So throw all the money you have to get George Kittle because he would elevate Russell Wilson's game to an even higher level than it already is. So never giving Kittle to Seattle. No.
It just frustrates, gets my blood boiling thinking about that possibility, even though it's not one. But oh no, never. Disley, one, he can't stay healthy. Clowney's had trouble issues staying healthy. So the 49ers get nothing out of that unless maybe you want to include your first-round picks for the next 10 years. Then I might consider it. But Kittle hitting the 49ers with that, it'll be a little tough to see.
Yeah, that would be heartbreaking to pretty much every 49ers faithful out there to see George Kittle playing in that nasty, ugly teal and lime green. Ugh.
I feel like it's any player.
Any player, but especially when you look at guys like George Kittle, who I said was the face of the franchise. That would be a really tough one to swallow.
Yes, that's kind of like the Cowboys in the '90s or in the '80s. Not the '80s. I would say '90s because Cowboys sucked in the '80s. So when Deion Sanders went there, even though he was a Niner for 1 year, but it was still ugly to see.
Yeah, it's not something you wanted to see, but that's
Charles
still
Haley.
That's
Charles
still
Haley.
the greatest mercenary hiring of all time. Oh, Charles Haley. Oh, you're touching on a soft spot for me because I'm a JMU guy. So seeing Charles Haley go from the 49ers to the Cowboys was tough, because Charles Haley, JMU legend, and the only Hall of Famer to come from James Madison University. So it's very tough to see him go to the other side.
Yeah, since we're on this topic, Cowboys Seahawks, what would you say is the biggest rival as of now? Do you think it's still the Cowboys or the Seahawks for you personally? Like, if the 49ers had to beat one team in the NFC's championship, it was a guaranteed win, but you had a choice of which team, Cowboys or Seahawks, who would you want that to be?
Seattle. It's not even close to me. Just because I understand the Dallas rivalry in the 90s and stuff, and I grew up not liking them, but I'm only 32 years old, so I didn't, I say only, I feel like I'm old as hell, but I didn't grow up in the 80s and stuff, so I didn't see that huge rivalry, especially in the early 90s too. The first time I ever really came around to watching football was the 49ers in the Super Bowl against the Chargers, which when I was about 6 years old. So that's when I really started to watch football.